So Charlie Kirk goes to Cambridge University, debates a bunch of people from the UK. Fascinating to see the way that people from another country view these issues, because we're kind of, to some degree, like in an echo chamber in the United States, right? Listening to people like Charlie Kirk go to campuses and debate people, and the people he's debating are kind of like out of their heads in their own rights. So hearing somebody that's outside of this little bubble in the U.S. is really interesting. Let's give this a listen, see what they had to say. What?
On to our questions.
Hold on, I'm sorry. I'm trying to fix.
Our first question is from Zinosha Zubair from Sydney, Sussex. Come up and ask a question. Remember, you have the right of response.
I have quite a simple question for you. Now, I know you've debated Dean Withers on Jubilee before. I was wondering why you now refuse to engage with further debate with him.
I'm not sure who that is. Dean Withers? Oh, wait, is she talking about It's Dean, the YouTuber It's Dean? I think that's who she's referring to, probably, right? He's super interesting. I didn't know he would refuse to debate him.
Wait, hold on. First of all, he's coming on my show this summer, and let me get this straight. I flew 5,000 miles across the world to have you ask why I'm not going to debate a left-wing YouTuber?
Well,
What a piece of shit, dude, honestly. Downplaying her question, pretending that it's unimportant or whatever. I can't stand this dude, honestly. It wasn't a question about why you won't debate a YouTuber. It was a question about why you're afraid to engage with certain people. And I don't know if he's having him on this summer. Charlie Kirk likes to just make shit up brazenly, so don't, take that with a grain of salt, of course. The point is that, like, you're all about free speech and the free exchange of ideas, but you're really not. It's really just like you pretending to be in favor of those things.
he continuously tries to get your attention at your campus.
Again,
you just ignore him.
I've debated him twice in the last calendar year. He's coming on my show this summer. Let me be clear.
I'm sorry, I don't believe you that he's coming on your show. I certainly don't believe that that was the case before she asked.
By the way, guys, check out my new shop, owenmorgan.com/shop. I have a bunch of really cool designs on there.
Cambridge to have you ask me that?
He's just making himself sound like a shithead right now, right? It seems to me. I don't know. I mean, everything that he says makes him sound like a shithead to me. So I'm leaving it in you. I'm leaving it up to you guys to tell me. Does he sound like a shithead right now?
I mean, you talk about freedom. I'm just using my freedom of speech to ask you a simple question. You seem to be dodging it for some reason.
No, I've debated him twice in the last year, and he's coming on this summer for a long...
Well, why are you ignoring him is the question. I don't give a shit if you're debating him in the future. Why are you ignoring him now?
Long-form discussion, but is this what I can expect?
Yeah, he's making videos about you avoiding him on your campus debates.
Right, so let me tell you how this works. I do a campus event, like a Texas A&M University. I rent it out. I'm there for 3 hours. He shows up demanding to come up to the mic immediately, cutting in line of other students.
That is not what happened. I am 100% confident that is not what happened. Charlie Kirk has a bad habit of like twisting shit around until it's absolutely unrecognizable.
It's not Joe Biden's America anymore where you can just cut in line and get whatever you want.
Jesus Christ, dude. What a sack of shit. I'm sorry. Look, I feel like I have to address shit. Every time that he makes shit up like this, I feel like obligated to address it and point out like the ways in which he's just like lying or twisting shit around. I can't just let things slide like this. There was no cutting in line in Joe Biden's America, quote unquote. What does that even mean? Cutting in line in Joe Biden's America? What, more people cut line in Joe Biden's America than under Trump? What are you even talking about? What does that mean? The fact is, he's trying to make people out to be entitled if they were involved with like the left in any way, shape, or form. You're entitled if you're on the left. And Joe Biden just made people entitled, more entitled. It's just nonsense. But even if it were true, which it isn't, but if it were, at least we didn't have to worry about MAGA extremists wearing federal uniforms, ICE uniforms, and bringing people to who the fuck knows where. Like picking them up off the street and bringing them to who the fuck knows where. Wait, I was already here, wasn't I? Yes. I was already here. Shit. I probably shouldn't have gone through that. All right.
So therefore, I say, excuse me, Dean, we'll talk at another time. He makes this YouTube video as if I'm scared to debate him, even though I debated him twice in the last year. Does that sufficiently answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Charlie Kirk is just a complete sack of shit, truthfully. There is no honesty with him. There's no intellectual honesty to be found. He's just like a bad person in his heart and twists things around until it's unrecognizable. That's his strategy. That's his way. And I got to give him credit for this. He has expertly created a cohesive delusion that all parts match with. Like, he has this bizarre idea of society and, like, human rights and shit that does not match with reality in any way, but it does match with the other parts of his beliefs. You got to give him that one. Real Pumpkin J says he sounds like a bit of a see you next Tuesday. Yeah. That's a slur in the United States, I came to find. Like a full-blown slur. Like, I used to say that shit all the time. Not, about women or anything, just used to say it, But I guess that it's viewed as a full-blown slur. My kid was in school, and somebody in the class or something said that word, or in a video they were watching for the class or something. Teacher had to, pull some of the kids aside and explain what that word was, what it meant and stuff. It's like, well, guys, come on, just chill the fuck out. It's just a fucking word, please. Whatever. It's another word in Australia. Yeah, well, who fucking cares? Seriously. It's like the fuck word, People say that word all the time. Nobody should care. It's all right. We in the UK watch this and think, what the fuck is this guy on? Yeah, unfortunately, the UK is full of people who are looking for an excuse to hate Arabs, hate people of Middle Eastern descent, or hate Muslims or whatever for any reason. And the far right in the United States, they don't like Muslims. Obviously they don't obviously they're not going to take the left-wing position on that. But the right doesn't really care that much in the United States about Muslims. It's not like a primary issue for the right here. Damn it. It's really hard to get the bomb jumping. The timing is really hard. There it is. Okay, got it. I'm not supposed to be up here yet. It's premature, but whatever. I like sequence breaking. The fact is, in the UK, the way that they view Islam and Muslims is psychotic. It is nothing short of psychotic. I don't like Islam. I think it's destructive. The reason I'm talking about this is because it's about to get there. We're about to discuss this in a second in this debate. Islam is bad. It's a bad religion that has bad outcomes and bad results, and it treats people like shit. I think we can all agree with that, right? Religious fundamentalism is bad, period. But the right wing in the UK doesn't just dislike Islam because of how it treats women or whatever. They dislike Islam because they're fucking nutcases. Because they're bigoted, hateful. It's not bigotry technically, because it's not racism technically, because Islam isn't a race, of course. But it's bigotry, which is disliking somebody because of their beliefs, as opposed to disliking somebody because of the color of their skin, for example. That's racism. Bigotry is racism for opinions instead. The people in the UK are psychotic with how they treat Muslims. It's not just disliking religious fundamentalism. It's fucking hating people who are Muslim. That's it. Yeah.
All right, so thank you for coming, Charlie. My question to you, I'm a medical student, and so I'm going to throw out the big A word. I know you get asked about it a lot, but I want to hear from you what your opinion is on abortion.
I felt like this guy didn't do a phenomenally good job with his arguments.
Life begins at conception.
But about abortion specifically, why do you think abortion's wrong specifically?
Well, you agree murder is wrong?
I agree. Okay, so this is where we get to the question, right? Because What is it about murder you say is wrong? Like, why is murder wrong?
Well, because it's a human being, not just because it has consciousness or because it's of a certain age, because it's a human.
And what is it that gives human being this moral worth?
Okay, look, I'm just going to address this before they get into it anymore. It's not a human being. It is a potential human being. And to some people, you know, that potential human being is effectively a human being. Like, being excited because you're pregnant, that is like a natural understanding, you know, and feel like you lose the baby, using that term if you have a miscarriage or something. That's totally understandable. But in reality, it's not actually a baby. It is a potential baby, is leading to being a baby. Not there yet. It is literally just a grouping of cells, nothing more. There is nothing immoral about this. I think it's 25% of all pregnancies end in miscarriage. Almost all of them before 5-6 weeks or something like that. Charlie Kirk is not trying to charge women with a crime if they, smoke cigarettes when they're pregnant or something, or if they're like, they go do something that could be considered potentially reckless. If they're like joyriding in a car and they're pregnant, they don't charge them with a crime, with murder, because everybody understands that it's not actually a human being. It's a potential human being, right? And nobody like debated that. Nobody had a problem with that conclusion until it was heavily politicized. But either way, it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, because in the United States, and in my moral system overall, it doesn't matter what country you're in, this is how I view things. I value bodily autonomy and personal freedom. I value bodily autonomy and personal freedom over anything else. Your right to swing your fist ends at the tip of my nose. You can't swing your fist right here, because then you're not exercising your rights, you're violating my rights. And I have the right to make choices for myself. That's the bodily autonomy portion of it. I might as well go into this. I've talked about it a few times before, but I'm gonna get into it for a second. For people who might be falling for Charlie Kirk's nonsense here, let me lay this out for you, okay? Imagine you're in a car, you're driving along, and the light turns yellow, but just barely yellow, and you miscalculate how long it was yellow, and you run a red light by mistake. Imagine for a second. You go through the light, and as you're going through, you accidentally run into another car. It's your fault. You wake up in the hospital, and you see yourself hooked up to the other driver by tube. You are feeding your blood into the other driver. Imagine you're a Jehovah's Witness, say, and you're experiencing this. It doesn't matter what's happening. You have the bodily autonomy to say, no, don't do that. I don't want to give my blood to anybody, period. For religious beliefs, for personal, whatever. It doesn't matter. You don't even need a reason. You don't have an obligation to give your blood to anybody else, even if it's your fault that you're there. But an even clearer example is you're having a problem where you're fainting, and you go to the hospital to deal with this fainting problem. And you faint in the waiting room. They bring you back there, and you wake up in the triage center hooked up to somebody, and you're giving them your blood. That's unacceptable. They would never do that. Doctors would never, ever take your blood without your permission. It's a violation of everything that we believe in the United States, and everything that I believe in my own moral system. It's just unacceptable to do that. And you are within your rights, no matter what the situation, the circumstances, to pull that tube out, even if that person is going to die as a direct result of your actions pulling that tube out. You can do it, and there will be no consequences for you pulling that tube out, because we value bodily autonomy to that degree. Now, think about how that aligns with this situation where there is another, babies, all right, let me rephrase. Pregnancies, especially at 5 weeks or 10 weeks, are not babies. They're just not. At best, they're a grouping of cells. Apply that line of thinking about, pulling the tube out to a grouping of cells. There's a grouping of cells that is pulling resources from you against your will. Doesn't matter how you got there. Doesn't matter if it was your fault. Doesn't matter if you got in the accident and you were drunk or any of that shit. Doesn't matter. You can pull the tube out. Imagine being in a situation where you go to a hospital and they force you to keep the tube in. And if you pull the tube out, you go to prison for the rest of your life. That's where we are right now regarding abortion. Nobody should be forced to do things like that. You should have bodily autonomy. You should have control over your own body, period. So anyway, that's the only argument that I need against it, truthfully. That's it. So Charlie Kirk is going to argue with us that it's a human life. It's a child. It's a baby or whatever. No, it's not, but it doesn't matter. You can't be forced to give resources to somebody else if you don't want to. Bodily autonomy. And if you notice through this whole thing, Charlie Kirk keeps changing the what's the word? He keeps changing the argument. He keeps changing the parameters. So instead of saying life begins at conception and that it's murder, he says it's a human life, and that uniquely makes it special. Whether it's sentient or not is immaterial to the situation.
Not its consciousness necessarily.
I didn't say it's consciousness.
I know that. I can imagine it because it is a human being, because that has a soul.
And what is this?
Yeah, what the fuck is a soul? What do you mean by that exactly? Soul is a religious concept, not a scientific one. And I don't personally want religion dictating the laws in the country. You know why? Because there are a lot of people who are not religious in this country, or who are a different religion in this country than Charlie Kirk. Religion absolutely should not be dictating public policy in any country ever.
So where does this come from? This idea that it's...
Exactly. I mean, again, the Greeks postulated that it is the entirety of your being. Okay, you guys can laugh. I mean, it's true. I mean, every civilization has had a different belief, but agreed upon ethical monotheism, which is the creed of the West and what the birth certificate of my country articulates, is that every human being is more than just matter. It's more than just a clump of cells.
The birth certificate of my country. Is he talking about the Constitution, or is he talking about the Declaration of Independence? I'm not sure what he's referring to. I'm trying to, like, the Constitution does not mention God at all, and that was intentional. They specifically, intentionally did not want God listed in the Constitution. In fact, there were multiple drafts of the Constitution, some of which had shit about God in there, thanks to John Adams, that shithead, and they kept wrinkling it up and throwing it away and saying, John, stop it. We don't want Jesus in the Constitution. Seriously, that really happened.
But it also has an invisible element to you that will live beyond you.
Fine, so, I mean, can you say that comes from the Bible, or where else do you get that from?
Ethical monotheism, which is the creed of the West. And again,
it's not the creed of the West. Secularism is the creed of the West. It just so happens that there are a lot of religious nutcases in the West as well. Specifically Christian nutcases. Christian nutcasery is not the creed of the West. I mean, Thomas Jefferson, one of the founding fathers, is also one of the founders of the Enlightenment movement, which is like secularism. He's one of the founders of secularism, effectively. You know, the United States is one of the first secular states, certainly the first one on this size, on this scale. How do I don't understand how to get here. I'm just lost. Where the hell am I going? I'm trying to figure this out. All right, I think I'm going to go to the right.
Declaration of Independence mentions God 4 times.
Okay. He knows this, what I'm about to say, but I'm going to say it anyway. He knows that when God is mentioned in the Declaration of Independence, it's mentioned in the context of where we get our rights. When it says we get our rights from God, what it meant was we get our rights from somewhere other than government. And it's not just me that says that. You know who else says that? Project 2025. The Heritage Foundation says that. Hold on. Let me find it. Project 2025 training. Here. This is a Project 2025 training video. I don't know if you guys remember when these released. Here you go. This is a guy from the Heritage Foundation, a lawyer from the Heritage Foundation, explaining what that meant.
Ultimately, they chose to ground their claims upon nature, a more philosophically and more fundamental ground that was a defensive right behind Magna Carta, behind and beyond the rights of Englishmen to their rights as humans. And so they turned to nature as the ground for the claim of rights, the ground upon which they would make their claims of independence, the grounds upon which they would assert their rights as an independent nation. And it was this turn to nature that is classically represented in the Declaration of Independence, but seen throughout many of the documents developing from the 1760s to 1776. It's classically stated within the Declaration of Independence by reference to the laws of nature and nature's God, which is itself an incorporation of aspects of a much deeper and longer natural law tradition, going back to the Greeks and Romans, but also through English thinking, especially through thinkers like John Locke.
So the point is that even the Heritage Foundation knows that what Charlie Kirk just said is bullshit. Even they know that. And these people are like the most extreme of the most extreme. These guys are total unhinged nutcases, the Heritage Foundation is. They are the writers of Project 2025. It does not get more psychotic than these people. I would, sometimes this game is just needlessly cryptic and confusing.
The founders were explicitly believed, not in a secular morality, but a divinely given one.
That's false. That's just a flat out lie. And he knows that's a lie. Even the Heritage Foundation knows that that is a lie.
At least this idea that there is a God and you are not him. And let me ask you, what is the first stage of human development?
So this is the thing, right? We can take it from the sperm being generated in the father and the oocyte being generated in the mother, right? They fuse at birth, conception, sorry. The only thing that happens at conception is these two cells fuse.
No,
Right?
DNA is created. A zygote.
DNA is not created.
A DNA, no, that's not true. The DNA coding.
He's literally a medical student. Charlie Kirk is arguing with a medical student.
Fuse.
No,
Right?
DNA is created. A zygote.
DNA is not created.
A DNA, no, that's not true. The DNA, DNA coding at the zygote. Hold on, time out.
I'll let you finish.
Does a zygote have a unique marker?
Charlie, DNA.
Does a zygote have a unique
You have
marker?
to let me speak. You have to
Answer it, yes or no.
Charlie-
Does a zygote have a unique marker?
define a unique marker.
Meaning, can you differentiate the DNA coding between the mother and the zygote if you examine it under a deoxyribonucleic acid analysis?
Oh my God. Why didn't you just say DNA instead of deoxyribonucleic acid? Yes, we all know what that stands for, Charlie. We learned it in high school. Good job. Super fucking smart.
Can you?
Only purely because the addition comes from the father.
Oh, so it is something different.
Charlie, DNA is not created. DNA is not created. You have, the father has his own genome, the mother has her own genome. They fuse. This is why you have the same characteristics, similar ones to your mother, similar ones to your father. That's why you have similar characteristics to your siblings. DNA is not created, right? So when you ask me, where does a human being come from? I can say to you, it starts at conception, but all conception is these two cells joining, right? But these two cells were created, the mother's cells were created long before,
Yeah, and why do you pick conception as the line? Why don't you pick, more clear boundaries than that? There are other clear boundaries, right? Why not before conception? Why don't you say that it's a sin to, wrestle the weasel, if you will? I'm using it. I'm doing it. These people are all completely full of shit. And they know that they're full of shit. Charlie Kirk, I believe he knows exactly what he's saying and doing is nonsense.
when she was a fetus. So there's none of this DNA being produced, right? So we can't establish. The only thing that happens at conception is these two cells fuse. Now, this idea that means that for some reason suddenly that moral worth comes in, but it wasn't there before when you had these two cells who had half the DNA. But suddenly there's a
correct. Yes, something magical happens at that.
It's not magic.
What magical shit happens? There's no magic.
Charlie, we know about this.
Oh, well, hold on.
Charlie.
Time out. Hold on.
Charlie, I promise you, I'm not trying to score points. I'm not trying to score points on you. This is genuine.
We call it the miracle of life for a reason. We've not been able to yet replicate human life development outside of the womb.
We call it.
Yes, we can. We can do all kinds of shit. Do you mean we can't use artificial wombs yet? This is like a God of the Gaps thing. What happens when we can create artificial wombs and birth children from them? What are you going to say then? We can't create our own DNA in a lab? I mean, you're just going to keep moving it back until science accomplishes this shit. And I personally believe science will accomplish anything that we have in mind today. Light speed travel, faster than light travel, I believe with enough time and effort, we will be able to accomplish that. through one means or another. Bending the universe to change the properties around a spaceship to get there or something, even if it's not actually traveling, it's just jumping through a wormhole or something. I believe we'll get there with enough time and effort. I believe we will accomplish, or we will overcome aging. I think we will, eventually. What happens then, Charlie? What happens when what you're saying is complete nonsense? He's just going to back into a new bullshit argument.
The miracle of life, because yes, it's something beautiful, the ability to
exactly
form a new...
magical, is
it's not... You say magical, is it, oh, it's beautiful, it's an incredible thing that happens, of course. But it's not incredible in the sense we don't know what's going on. There's no new DNA coming out of nowhere.
Hold on, but time out. Isn't there a separate DNA, though, than the mother? Like,
yes, from the father.
Okay, yes, but it's not the father's DNA either. A new coding is created.
Charlie,
you are a blend of the two. And so when did your life begin?
Okay, so
when did your life?
I mean, again, this comes from what you define as where life starts. You can say life starts at conception, but I'm telling you, I believe that's just an arbitrary point, right? That's just the moment these two cells fuse. Now, you say about this mother thing. So the way DNA is arranged in a cell is it's arranged in chromosomes. Chromosomes are paired up. So you have one from the mother, one from the father, typically, in a healthy individual, right? Now, you can take those maternal chromosomes out and you can find that this is who the person's mother is. And you can do the same with the father. Now, the reason you are different to your mother and father is because some of those chromosomes express genes that are different from each other. And so those genes interact and that's what gives rise to you, right? There's no space for any kind of moral framework to come into that until you consider that a human being is capable of consciousness and of suffering. But if you take that out of the equation, the fact that these two DNA, whatever they call molecules, right? These two DNA molecules are fusing, that does not suddenly flip a switch that attributes moral worth to that individual. I mean, I'm just saying, I'm not trying to score points.
Then, by what moral standard do you believe that?
I believe that if an individual is capable of suffering, then it's wrong. Now, can I explain my opinion on abortion, just so you can understand? I would agree, as many reasonable people would, that at 9 months, it's unreasonable to expect someone to get an abortion, right? Unless you have some extreme circumstances. But for an elective abortion seems a bit radical to me.
Literally everybody believes that. He's describing everyone's position. Under Roe v. Wade, elective abortion was illegal beyond 20 weeks. You were not allowed to just get an abortion beyond 20 weeks because you wanted to. That's that's 5 months. Beyond 5 months. And nobody got abortions before 5 or after 5 months. Nobody even got abortions at 5 months. If they were going to get abortions, it's going to be long before that. Statistically, something like 73%, I think, of abortions happen before 10 weeks. And then 94% happen before 14 weeks. I don't remember what the statistics are now. Easy to look it up. The point is, it's almost all of abortions ever always happen before, the legal limit of 5 months. Like 1% of abortions, any elective or medical or anything at all, 1% of all abortions happen beyond 20 weeks, pretty much. And that is in cases where, like, the mom is going to die or the baby's head is literally just filled with water. Like, there is no being in there. There is no brain. Those types of situations is when people get abortions beyond that. The point is that what Charlie Kirk is doing is literally, it's killing people. It is literally killing people. It's making people's lives materially worse, more dangerous, and horrific for no reason. No reason. Well, I haven't been over here, apparently. Damn.
But it also seems radical to say that a woman who has just, the cells have just fused, to deny her of an abortion also seems wrong to me. Because that zygote is not capable of suffering, as far as we know.
There's no brain? That's called MAGA syndrome, right? Take them out before they turn into a human being.
So by what moral standard? Is that just your opinion? Where did you get that moral standard?
Oh my God, dude. By what moral standard? He's saying he has a moral standard that he seems to think is supported by the Bible, though it isn't. The Bible is actually pro-abortion, but it doesn't matter what moral standard we're going by. We're not going by a moral standard. We're going by a combination of freedom of speech and bodily autonomy, the two things upon which the United States was built. Free speech and bodily autonomy. But, you know, he's just like, he's not going to give a shit about any of that because he wants his Jesus shit to fit in with everything. It's just, he's such a vile human being. He wants everybody to follow his stupid Jesus shit.
Standard from.
Because suffering is a bad thing. We all know suffering is a bad thing. That's an objective fact, right?
Hold on. So you do believe in objective morality.
I believe.
No, he doesn't believe in objective morality. He said everybody understands suffering is bad. That doesn't mean it's objective. It means that everybody has agreed on a subjective position of it's bad. And that's the case. Like, there is no objective morality. Even if you are a Bible-believing, Jesus-loving, you know, God-fearing, whatever the fuck, you still don't believe in objective morality no matter how much you want to. You think you believe in objective morality when you are going through and picking out the things in the Bible that you believe are the most objective and the most important and valuable and all of that other shit. Your preacher, it is impossible to not cherry pick the Bible because it's written by so many people across such a large span of time, you know, varying types of people of different social classes and wealth and all of that other shit and degrees of power. They all had different opinions. They all had different ideas. The Bible contradicts itself every other chapter. So all this shit about objective morality and how we all have, you know, there's an objective morality. No, there isn't. There is not an objective morality. Objective morality is a concept invented by idiots who are obsessed with, what's the word I'm looking for? With not purveying, not persecuting, with not perceiving. It's with disseminating their idiocy. Disseminating works. I don't feel like that was even the right word. Close enough. Like, I don't know this for sure, but I would, if I had to guess, I would guess that the concept of objective morality, it certainly came from religious nutcases. I would say it's probably older than, say, young Earth creationists in the United States. It's probably thousands of years old. Thomas Aquinas, maybe? I don't know who invented the concept of objective morality. But it would surprise me if, but if it didn't exist before young Earth creationist nutcases in the U.S., they certainly would have invented it. It's just nonsense.
That suffering is an objectively negative.
So if you can't feel it, is it okay?
What do you mean if you can't?
You can't feel the pain. Is it okay to inflict the pain?
No, it's not okay to inflict pain or suffering. He said suffering, not pain. But he's trying to make the point that you are inflicting suffering on a grouping of cells, though it can't feel the pain yet. You aren't inflicting anything on a grouping of cells. Like, literally microscopic, impossible to see. It's so small, you literally cannot see it. You're not inflicting anything on it.
In the sense that if no one's suffering from it, if you have a scenario where nobody is suffering from something, then yes, of course. Something is only a moral question if it affects someone's well-being.
So let me just make sure I understand this correctly.
That's a questionable statement. It's only a moral situation if it affects someone's well-being. I'm not sure that I fully agree with that take, and it was an interesting one to lay down. And Charlie probably sees that, you know, he probably sees that this guy lined him up for this so that he could knock these pins down. You know, there are functioning heroin addicts. They're called chippers. And there's a super fascinating psychological phenomenon. That's still wrong, though it's not hurting anybody. It is still wrong because it has a high potential of hurting people, I guess. I don't know. I would have to think about this more. But I don't think I agree with his position completely. You definitely need a conscious mind for it to be a moral question. That's for sure. You absolutely do need that. I'll give him that one.
doesn't affect their well-being. So dementia patients that don't know who they are or where they're from, can we execute dementia patients because they're confused about their well-being?
Can you?
No, because there's suffering in that equation still. They can still suffer even if they don't remember afterward. Like a child who is 2 years old, or hell, say a 6-month-old getting the tip of his cut off because religious nutcases like doing that. That's morally wrong. That is morally wrong. Though the kid will not remember it, it's morally wrong still. So it's not necessarily that it's not about remembering or anything. It's not about knowing. I don't know. This is a complicated issue, but Charlie Kirk saw an opening and he's going for it now.
Can you imagine a scenario?
Or Alzheimer's patients.
Charlie.
Alzheimer's patients don't really know much about anything. Can we schedule them for execution because they can't technically suffer?
I'll respond. So can you imagine a scenario where we lived in a society where we killed people when they suffered from dementia, were incapable of suffering, and we killed them, right?
That's a bodily autonomy problem. That's not about suffering. That's there's a different reason behind not doing that. They have bodily autonomy no matter what. The reason that a grouping of cells does not have bodily autonomy, but a dementia patient does, is because a grouping of cells is just not a human being. It's just not. No matter how much you want it to be, it just isn't.
It's not a scenario that involves an absence of suffering. There's still suffering involved. Imagine you grow up thinking, my dad could be killed at any moment because he's going to get dementia. Imagine living your life thinking, I could get dementia and suddenly I'd be killed by my state.
Okay, that's an okay argument, but I think that, I don't know. I think it's a lot more complicated than this dude is giving it credit for.
Imagine a world where you slaughter 1 million babies every year in America.
Charlie, it's not slaughter. That's the problem.
Hold on. If it's a forcible removal from the umbilical cord of another human life, again.
He's so completely full of shit. It's nothing but propaganda from this guy. Constant. It's not a human life. It's a potential human existence. It is literally just a grouping of cells.
We have clarity but not agreement. Biologically, you know that your entire coding began at conception. Your coding,
that's
your uniqueness.
That's denying. I disagree with that.
Okay, when those two cells fused together, to use your terminology,
yes,
that is where the process of human
accepted terminology.
In the interest of time, can we bring this question to a close?
The process of human development objectively begins at that moment. Therefore, those human beings are deserving of human rights. We keep going, or do you want to?
No, thank you. Yeah, you can finish.
The process of development begins from the moment the sperm is being generated in the father, the moment the eggs are being generated in the mother. To say that suddenly the moral worth switches on when they fuse doesn't make any sense. That's just a point.
It makes perfect sense, because that is when your journey as a human being, when the sperm and egg were separated.
No, it isn't when your journey as a human being begins. Arguably, your journey as a human being doesn't begin until you have consciousness. I wouldn't advocate for, terminating the life of a 2-year-old, obviously, because it's no longer a potential life. It is now a life. And whether that kid realizes it, they have bodily autonomy like everybody else. But it's just not a kid until a certain point. Until it's, when the Bible said it's not a kid? It's not a kid until it's born. And again, the Bible is pro-abortion. Numbers 5:11-23. It is in favor of abortion. It says you should get abortions. If, for example, you think your wife cheated on you, she should get an abortion. It doesn't get clearer than that. There is nowhere in the Bible that is anti-abortion. Nowhere. The only verse that these people ever bring up when it's discussed is you shall not murder. But, we haven't established anything about that. We haven't established that it's even a human being. It's not. And when pushed, sometimes they'll cite that verse that's talking about that prophet that said God knew him before he was born, which is, do I even need to point out why that doesn't apply at all? These people are completely full of shit, completely, all the way down. And they have to come up with ridiculous, absurd, embarrassing, honestly, really fucked up reasons to justify the things that they say. And on top of all of that, you know what? Even if it were a human being, even if I could grant you that, abortion not being available to people causes mass suffering and devastation to a degree that I cannot articulate. Like people dying every single day because they can't get an abortion, or because they can't like follow the exact rules as laid out by like these religious nutcases. God, I'm trying to get up here and I'm having so much trouble.
You were not yet a fused human being. You were not created uniquely.
DNA existed.
An image.
Your DNA existed. I thought.
Well, no, the parts of your DNA existed. Your DNA did not exist. It's like saying that we have a full car just because we have all the parts. It was not yet put together until conception happened.
He doesn't understand what's happening. Charlie Kirk doesn't have any clue what's happening. And it's like painfully obvious when he opens his mouth on this subject. The bottom line with Charlie Kirk is this. He doesn't care if it's a life. He doesn't care if there's any, legitimacy to whatever. Doesn't care. It doesn't matter to him. What matters is he feels like it's a human life, and he feels like it should matter. He feels like this is a useful issue politically, and he's going to continue to push this issue since it's so politically useful. That's what it's about for Charlie Kirk, in my personal opinion. I don't think he gives a shit about this.
And the zygote was formed. Thank you. I think we have to get. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You know about Patriot Mobile and what?
No, thank you, good sir. Continue on. Patriot Mobile. Wait a minute. Patriot Mobile. Did they really create a MAGA phone network? Okay, I need to listen to this ad. I'm sorry. We're going to step back, listen to this ad.
And the zygote was formed. Thank you. I think we have to get. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You know about Patriot Mobile and what they stand for. I've talked to you about their commitment to family, faith, and freedom. But have you made the switch yet? You'll get exceptional nationwide coverage on America's best networks without sacrificing your values. Get unlimited data.
Without sacrificing you. What fucking values are you sacrificing by using AT&T? Exactly. Oh my God, dude. Like, this is actually really disturbing to me. You know why? When I was reading about World War II and, learning about how life was at the time, I found out there was like a massive kind of separation in society leading up to World War II, leading up to the Nazi rise specifically, not to the war. Leading up to the Nazi rise is a massive separation in society. There were social democrats. They were basically like left-wing people. They were just left-wingers. They were actually pretty good. They were better than Democrats in the United States, certainly. There were social democrats. There were also national socialists or social nationalists, if you will. There was also the Catholic Center Party, and there were a bunch of other parties like that. I'm trying to think of some of them right now. I can't think of them off the top of my head. But these political parties, the Communist Party was the other big one. They were so, people in these parties were so separated from each other. They went to Catholic schools, and they went to communist schools, and they went to social democrat schools. They went to social democrat churches. They were part of social democrat unions. They were part of social democrat sewing circles, Nazi sewing circles. They all lived in their own little corners of society, and they almost didn't intersect with each other at all at a certain point, because everything became so so polarized. They didn't work with each other. They didn't hang out with each other. They had the Social Democrat Boy Scouts and the Nazi Boy Scouts. They had the communist sewing circles and the Social Democrat sewing circles. It was just, they were all so separate from each other. It was bad. And that's the type of shit that I see happening in the United States right now. And it's disturbing, truthfully. That's actually really difficult to do correctly, to do the bomb jump. I'm getting it, though. I'm getting better at it. Nice. I don't think I'm supposed to be up here yet.
Plans, mobile hotspots, international roaming, and even a backup line on your phone. Patriot can do it all. Switching is easy.
Dude, this sounds like AI. Is it just me? Is this his AI voice? It looks like he's saying the words. Is this a deepfake AI voice?
Roaming, and even a backup line on your phone. Patriot can do it all. Switching is easy. Keep your number, your phone, or get a new one. Go to patriotmobile.com/Kirk25.
Dude, I think that this is AI. Honestly. You know why else I think this is AI? Because his face is so fucking big compared to what it actually is. This face is entirely too big for real Charlie Kirk, right? His face is so goddamn tiny usually. Listen one more time. You can hear the artifacts in the AI.
International roaming, and even a backup line on your phone.
Backup, the back thing, there was an artifact.
Patriot can do it all.
All. This is an exact artifact out here in AI.
Switching is easy. Keep your number, your phone, or get a new one. Go to patriotmobile.com/Kirk25 or
In the 5 there in 25. That was AI.
your number, your phone, or get a new one. Go to patriotmobile.com/Kirk25 or call 972-PATRIOT. Use promo code Kirk25 for a free month of service.
The reason I say that is because I've been working on AI lately, trying to do a text-to-speech thing because I really want to, like, I used to use ReadBit. I've talked about this a few times. I'm going to talk about it again because I'm really interested in it. I used to use ReadBit to do text-to-speech with books, to kind of turn them into audiobooks, you know. And ReadBit is, like, absurdly expensive now, like, way more than it's worth. So I've been trying to find a solution where I can just kind of convert the books myself. And it's been difficult, but I think I'm getting better at it. This is a text-to-speech version of a book.
His composure and intense silence filled the air as Jack scanned the faces before him. This guy can become a problem as AMC's all one.
No, that's a bad example. Let me just jump back a little bit here.
Keeps me from enjoying reading in fiction. Others will inevitably struggle as well. I am creating fiction for people who are neurodivergent so we can enjoy...
No, this is the prologue. Let me jump forward.
Yeah. Terry nodded. But who planted the bomb? Just as Terry finished, a notification popped on Jack's phone. He squinted his eyes, reading the message, and a look of understanding appeared. I think Jack took a deep sigh. We might have found him. Arzhav Law Enforcement Division, interrogation room. The interrogation room contrasted sharply against the hollow white of the medical division. Here, darkness reigned supreme. It was broken only by a single, shivering lamp that formed an unforgiving pool of light on the lone figure slumped in the metal chair. The man's face was marked with a gaunt despair. He looked older than his years. The lines around his eyes spoke not of laughter, but of a relentless hunger that had gnawed at him for far too long.
You can hear the artifacts in this, just like you heard them in Charlie Kirk's thing, right? Like right there, just now, you could hear it. One more time.
Spoke not of laughter, but of a relentless hunger that had gnawed at him for...
Gnawed. Did you catch that word? The word gnawed?
But of a relentless hunger that had gnawed at him for...
Now listen to Charlie Kirk one more time.
Or call 972-PATRIOT.
You hear? 9?
Get a new one. Go to patriotmobile.com/Kirk25 or call 972-PATRIOT. Use promo code Kirk.
Telling you, dude, this is AI.
A relentless hunger that had gnawed at him for...
It's AI. Charlie Kirk did a whole ad with AI. Not that I give a shit. I don't. That's fine with me. Just, if you're going to do it, then do it well, at least. I don't care about doing mine well because it doesn't matter. I'm just reading books for myself or whatever. You know, I'm trying to create books that I can listen to on the go. I'm not like producing it for an audience or whatever, but this is produced for an audience. You can't even do the bare minimum for a fucking sponsorship? Okay. I love what you're doing with my book. I appreciate that. Yeah. Hey, this is a good opportunity for you guys who just joined. Is since you've heard the book now, the AI that I produced, vote in the poll on YouTube. Tell me if it's really if it's any good. I also used voice cloning to convert the final F5 TTS project into a cleaned up, edited form.
Oh, where did they come from? Jack paced the room. Is it that Zach guy's doing? Or that lady with her? Kara pointed towards the ventilation shaft on the footage. They must have snuck in somehow. Maybe during the last Ripley mission from Earth. This could mean only one thing. A grim silence descended upon them. Someone is sabotaging the food supply. Jack sighed, caressing his forehead. Exactly. Kara took a pause.
I mean, I think it's decent. I'm sorry, I'm going on about AI a lot. I just think it's really good. I mean, the text-to-speech thing is so cool to me and so useful. I cannot wait until we get better AI models that are public. We basically have flawless AI text-to-speech now. Absolutely, completely, and totally flawless. But not open source, not publicly yet. I'm still waiting for them to make some of this stuff public. I really hope that they make like 11 Labs. I haven't used it. I've heard that it's very, very good though. Like completely flawless to the point that I know some YouTubers who have made videos with it and nobody has any clue. I don't know which videos, but these YouTubers told me that one specifically said he made 2 videos with AI and nobody has any idea. They haven't said a word about it. I mean, he wrote the script and everything and he did the editing for it, but he got the thing to generate the voice for him, which I think is pretty interesting. I don't have a problem with that. I'm not going to do it, and my format doesn't fit AI anyway, but I do think it's pretty cool, and I think we're really going places with our AI models right now. I would like to get my local AI model to be so good that people cannot tell. Not that I intend to use it for anything. I just want it to be so good that it's indistinguishable from like my voice or from a real voice generally. I think that would be really cool. But we'll see. Anyway, point is that Charlie Kirk is using AI.